localities teamed up with community groups and nonprofits to implement it. You know, so in a heat wave, somebody has to knock on the door of that old man living by himself. And it has to be somebody that speaks his language and that he will trust. Because if you just have somebody knocking on the door, you know, in a uniform, they might not respond to it, right? Stay away from that. So there's all that. I don't know how far along we are. I know that LA City has a plan. I know that Long Beach has a plan. I don't know what's happening with the other 160-something odd smaller cities. Or is the county doing it? Are we ready? Long Beach has a plan of what to do. Looked at it, and it has plans for like cooling centers, where to go in terms of heat. And the plan is that all of these usable spaces that are owned by the city will be opened up when it gets to a certain temperature and all of that, which is a good thing. You know, they're far ahead of other places. They listed facilities, so, you know, parks and recreation centers, those, and they listed how many beds are available. And it's about 5,000 beds for a city of like 40, 50,000 people. So Long Beach is one of the best, farthest ahead. But the capacity of just opening up the playgrounds and all that makes for 5,000. Okay, so it's hard to do. It's a cost thing. It's a resource thing. I think it's also hard because they are the cities. Some of them don't have plans. There's a planning and actually being ready to implement. It's just some bad thing that's sure to happen in the future, some emergency in the future. But all these localities are dealing with emergencies that are happening right now. You know, they've got all kinds of crises, a lot around their funding. So you got something now, and something that's going to happen later, and something now bumps. You know, so it's a hard thing. I don't blame them for not being ready, but I think we have to start addressing it. Another rooftop solar. One of the ways to reduce greenhouse gases is to have an expansion of renewable clean energy. Part of the mix is solar photovoltaic, and part of the mix is the rooftop solar. There's big installations, put things on roofs. There's support if you own a building for a homeowner or a business owner. There are tax breaks that help you put it in. It's still expensive, but you can do it. If you're a renter, there's nothing to connect you to that. If you wanted to just participate in addressing the problem, or if you wanted to get a stable cost of electricity and lower in the long run, there's no access for renters right now. Is anybody a renter? Yeah, it's like you can't get anything. If you're a homeowner or a building owner, you can get tax free. If you're a renter, it's what's the relationship to the landlord, all of that. So one project is there a policy that can make it happen? And this is an interesting one where you would buy a share of a facility over there, you get credited to your unit. So when you pay your bill, you're getting credited for something that's somewhere else, not in your roof. So there's all kinds of things like that. How to get the benefits to low renters, especially low income, and to allow everyone to participate in this kind of project. Right? And renters are about nearly half of households. This climate change mitigation of local disadvantaged communities. California has laws to reduce emissions. So it took the big facilities and said you can only put out so much carbon dioxide. Yes, and they have a system where you have to buy permits. You probably heard of cap and trade. So I think there's problems with cap and trade, but that's the system we have. Maybe at some time there'll be other ones, but basically a financial incentive to reduce emissions. So the question is, well, what do you do with the money? Okay? So the money can be spent only on mitigation to reduce greenhouse gases. Okay? You can have mitigation that help do other things like create jobs that reduce pollution, other kinds of pollution, etc. That has to be mitigation. But last year a law passed that said that part of those revenues have to be spent in disadvantaged communities. 25% have to benefit those communities, 10% within that, 10% of the funds have to be in those communities. So the maps were created to do that. So it's just starting, and as with everything, the devil's in the details. Okay, so we're going to start looking at that. What is a wise way to do that? What is a real benefit to a disadvantaged community? So it's something that's just starting. We'll see the first concrete thing this week. The governor puts out his the May revision of the budget. The May revise. you see what he has targeted. So there's been work on that. The other issue is the local environmental health issues around air pollution, especially those tied to greenhouse gas co-pollutants. So we're looking at the freight ports and freight movement, I-710 expansion. I don't know if you've paid attention to the freight yard. It's called Skink. Right on West Long Beach between Willow and PCH, there's two big pieces of land. And the railroad companies want to take freight from ships, put them on trucks, drive them there where they would transfer to trains, and then drive out to the rest of the country. It's right butted up next to residential community, right butted up next to public school, K through 12, K through 8, Cambodian temple, playground. Right next to this, there's been a big fight with that. It's an unusual configuration because there's a little piece of land that sort of shoots out, and it's part of the city of Los Angeles. It's got Long Beach residents on one side, but I think the other side is Carson. So it's Los Angeles, but it's not in Los Angeles because of the peninsula that comes out. So there's a big fight over it. The city of LA approved it last week. Different groups are going to sue, so there's a big fight. It's owned by Warren Buffett. It's Burlington Northern. He's got enough money. So people wanted to do it at the port. If you were in Hong Kong, you would take it off the ship and put it on a train and drive through. Or you would ship to zero emissions. So he could do it with, and he's giving away all his money, right? He could do it with a little bit, but he's giving it away. And there's a big fight on it. It's not out of the question. It's done in other places. If you were in the Netherlands, if you were in Hong Kong, tight spot, you live this cheap land option. There's a solution. So that's a fight. So if you're interested, please take the class. And I'm open to other kinds of projects too. These would give you an idea of things that you might actually work on in your careers.
Only 120 kids?
This is an honors class, yeah. It's offered.
What hour is it?
Yeah, it's offered.
What day is it offered?
I think it's Thursday afternoons. You're the only ones who can see it. When you go for honors, only the honors students can see the fall schedule of classes. And you're the only ones that can get in. And if I'm open to other ideas too. I say that this is something that you'll work on, even if you're not an environmentalist in your training. I think, and you'll get your job, and then very soon you become part of the decision making for the institution. Right? If you're a school teacher, you start as a grade teacher. 5 years later, you're one of the leaders in the school, and you're making decisions about things like getting air filters and should we plant trees and all that. And it happens very quickly. So whatever your core specialty, you also start to make decisions about other things about the facility that you're in. So I think it's good to be knowledgeable. It's better to say, well, I worked on that, than what? So you already got the background in this class. So you'll be more knowledgeable than most people. But this will give you sort of a nuts and bolts approach to it. Carbon dioxide and volatile. Do you know what the greenhouse gas volume is? Okay. What is the constant? So you've probably seen this curve. And the measurements are taken at Mauna Loa Observatory. It's run by Scripps University. It's kind of interesting. The guy that did David Keeling, was just trying to figure out how to correctly calibrate instruments to measure. He was doing some other project, and the question came up, well, what's the baseline? What is the concentration of the atmosphere? So he got onto it and went to Mauna Loa, on the big island in Hawaii, or at the top, because it's in the middle of the ocean and it's far from big cities. So you have the air that is the least affected by local sources. And if you have a factory nearby, if you've got cars nearby, in fact, so we did it in the clear thing. And we measured it every year, and we saw this curve going up, right? It's going up every year. For most of the time in which humanity developed, for the last 100,000 years, what was the level, 275? Something like 275, right? And it's been going up, so you can see it edging up to, what is that, up into the 390s. When I started this project, it was 392. Okay? And Hansen's argument was that 350 is what we need. That was, if you keep it under 350, that probably is pretty safe in terms of not melting the poles. Okay. Problem is we've gone above 350 already, so we really need to bring it down. There's not a safe line up there. There's, at least with this estimate, there's a safe line to bring it down. So we've got to be more ambitious for zero. We have to think about locking up carbon. So we need to get down. I said current 385, I said that 2008. Here's last week. Here's, what is today, 10th? Here's this week. We are right at the verge of 400. It's sort of dancing around 400. I looked at it this morning, and they said we don't have a good measurement for today because there were a bunch of readings above 400 and then a bunch of way below. So we don't know if it's instrumentation or some glitch. So they may not have an average for today. I mean, you can check the slide and see what happens with it, but 400 is going to be crossed pretty soon. It'll probably be within the next week or so. And then it'll go down. You know about the up and down of the white zigzags? In the summertime, northern hemisphere summertime, there's more things growing, so that the plants will absorb the carbon dioxide, so it'll go down. And in the fall, it'll exhale more carbon dioxide. So you probably go above 400, go down, and then next year, go back up over. So the number itself is not that important, but it tends to get a lot of attention. And it's like by K2 or something like that, when you get a certain number, and then you get a lot of attention on it. So basically, we've got lots of work to do as a species, and it's kind of locally in our jobs. That is the last slide.